Live now, Dougie Fisher.
Welcome to sunny Santa Monica College Track.
You got the, it's a little bit June gloom in May.
It is, and I like it.
What do they call May Gray?
I have to, May Gray, yeah. I got to explain what I have on.
Here's the gray, but it's still a nice, what is it, about 65 degrees, 68 right now?
It's great. Yeah, nice. No, this is perfect weather.
Representing Garcia Boxing,
First
Legacy.
First HBO, because the great Harold Lederman passed away yesterday. And really, he was as integral to that broadcast booth as Larry Merchant or Jim Lampley.
Harold was legendary.
Lederman, yeah.
Legendary commentator.
From 86 all the way to the end.
The official scoring judge for HBO. Unofficial, yeah.
You know what, he'll be missed, and he loved boxing. That guy loved boxing.
He really did.
And he loved boxing fans because he was boxing's biggest fan, and he talked to anybody, treated everybody the same, treated everybody like he was your best friend.
And he loved club shows.
Loved club shows.
Coach Dave.
Everywhere.
I saw him at club shows. Every time he was out here, he'd be at the fight the night before.
That's true.
So also, this is Santa Monica College, where Doug was a professor here.
Was a professor, right? What was the subject matter, Doug?
Journalism.
Yeah.
Professor Fisher.
Yeah, journalism 101 and 202.
Nice.
And I did a workshop once with the school newspaper.
What year was that?
It was 20 and 21 years ago, 98 and 99.
Harold was very passionate, and
He was.
Do you remember how Harold Lederman, the unofficial HBO scorer, do you remember how he scored both Triple G Canelo fights?
The correct way?
Well, the way he scored it.
I also remember how he scored the first fight between Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, which was the correct score. Also the first fight between Floyd Mayweather and Jose Luis Castillo.
He scored it
the correct score was Harold's score.
Same, because he had the advantage of instant replay and watching the monitors.
He was just a better judge
not
than
being
the official judges. The unofficial official was better than the official official.
Many times.
Yeah.
Well, he scored at 8-4.
And also representing Garcia Boxing, their featherweight prospect won again in his first 10-rounder. This is Ruben Villa IV.
That's right.
He was in a ShoBox main event. People are really starting to take notice of this young southpaw technician, and once again, if you look up real close, this is a Dan Familton legacy. Yeah.
Should be to a legend.
And in Don Familton's legacy is his son Dean, and Dave could tell you, was absolutely sensational.
Dave, what do you think of Dean Familton as a trainer?
Well, we were telling you a couple weeks ago, be sure that when you watch that fight, you watch Dean Familton in the corner. He's incredible. I mean, he's as good as anyone or better. And the guys on national TV were talking about him.
I heard they were praising him on the Showtime telecast.
And they did it multiple times. And he's the best. He's real calm. He knows what he's talking about. He knows how to talk. He's really good. He was great. So he got some recognition. I've never seen that before.
No, that's great.
I think Barry Tompkins
he deserves it.
Of just how poised he was and how clear and concise the instructions were between rounds.
And so did Marquez.
Yeah, maybe Marquez mentioned it as well.
And I thought Marquez, that was his best I've ever seen. He was
He's excellent.
He's a very good commentator.
He's underrated. He's an underrated former champion turned commentator.
And Steve Farhood.
He's the best.
He's good too. It was very good.
So Doug, under your shirt you have, what are you representing here? Alan Becich Boxing?
Becich Boxing.
1987.
1987. That's when he was born. That was my junior year of high school. And that was my favorite year of high school because I started partying, and my already mediocre GPA of like 2.3, 2.5 dropped to like a 1.8. So it was a bad academic year for Dougie, but a fun year. So I always remember 1987.
So if you're wearing the shirt, we have Alan Becich here.
Hello, guys.
He's going to fight on the Hollywood Fight Nights a week from today, May 19th.
A title bout.
He's fighting for the WBO Intercontinental title, our first title bout on the Hollywood Fight Nights.
Wow.
He was up in Big Bear. He was sparring with both. Listen to this, Doug. Listen to this assignment. Spar with both Triple G
Goodness gracious.
and Ali Akhmedov.
Oh, no.
The same day.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. 3
Hard
rounds.
work.
No, 4 rounds
Did you
with Triple
spar
G.
with them the first day that you got there?
Yeah.
So you weren't even used to the altitude.
Yes, 1 hour after when we arrived, then we started to spar with Triple G. 4 rounds, I think.
4 rounds with Triple G and 2 rounds with Ali on the first day.
I couldn't do jumping jacks for 4 rounds at altitude. not as soon as I get there. My body has to acclimate, otherwise I get sick. So you did 8 rounds. Triple G
six
and all
rounds.
the
rounds
X-Men.
first 8, 6 rounds.
6 rounds.
6 rounds. Nice. Wow. All right.
There was a break in
I'm
between
impressed.
because they had 2 other sparring partners, so he had a break in between. But it was still impressive with those going with those guys. So yeah, so Alem, we went to the Hollywood Vampires concert last night,
Yeah, we did.
headlined by
Phew.
Johnny Depp.
Wow.
Naturally, at the Greek Theater. Shout out to Johnny Depp, Alice Cooper, Joe Perry. They played at the Greek Theater,
Yes.
and
It was a great
Alem
concert.
Alem actually met Johnny in Munich when they played last year in Munich, Germany, and so Johnny invited him backstage. We all went backstage after the concert, took photos with Johnny, and Johnny had said that he's going to try to come to see Alem fight at the Hollywood Fight Nights.
All right.
So not only will you see Cynthia Conte there as the host, you might
She's
see
a celebrity.
You might see Johnny Depp at the Avalon Theater next.
Johnny Depp
Next Sunday.
definitely a celebrity. Wow.
Yep.
You guys aren't tired at all. You went to a concert at the Greek Theater.
Just a little
It had
bit.
to be a late night, right?
Jordan, his coach. Jordan, his coach is tired. I don't
Okay,
know.
see, he's huge.
He's over there
Yeah.
somewhere laying down.
Wow.
A
Wow.
little bit, yeah.
But Alem
I'm
has
tired
good-
just from watching all the.
I'm going to back up here a little bit. 22-0. He's the
19
European
knockouts.
champion right now.
And
Not
is
19
he light
knockouts.
heavyweight or super middleweight?
He was the champion, or is the European champion at light heavyweight. He's dropping down to 168.
Seemed like he could make
For this fight.
168. You could like
Yeah.
the
He's-
bone structure of a super middleweight.
Yeah. And so he's going to fight Benjamin Simon from Germany, also.
27-3 record.
7-3. Yeah.
Very
so
good.
that's a great fight on our Hollywood show. That's next Sunday, May 19th.
How many fights in all are on that show?
Right now, 6 fights. Devon
fights.
Lee was on the show. We were going to have 7 fights.
Right.
He unfortunately injured himself, but he's looking forward to coming back.
He'll be on the next show.
Next show, yeah. Mhm.
And in the co-feature, or maybe you get the right opponent. Devon He's a popular guy.
He's
He could be
very
a main
exciting.
event.
Devon Lee.
If not
and,
this year, soon.
Devon Lee and Ryan Garcia would be a tremendous fight at
That
some
would.
point. 2 local guys, 2 great social media followings.
Yeah, and
That's
two
a great-
really
that's a great
flashy,
fight.
explosive speed
Yep.
demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very savvy on marketing their.
Oh, they've got
their
their
careers.
Instagram game is
They got
not
it
to be
down.
questioned.
They got it down. Ryan Garcia already selling out Fantasy Springs Casino
Yeah.
out there. So, but he was the co-feature. We got Surya Boachuk coming back.
So Boachuk's back in
13-0.
his toughest.
A big step
His
up fight.
toughest test as a professional,
Yeah,
right?
against
Freddie Hernandez,
Freddie
right?
Hernandez, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And that's also a 10-rounder.
that's a 10-round fight as well.
Right.
So,
So we've got 2 10-rounders, and I'm guessing a couple 4-rounders
yeah, then
on the undercard.
Adrian Corona is fighting again, and
Good little
then
technician.
Christian Robles, trained by
Good fighter.
Brian Valoria.
Got up from his
out
first
here.
knockdown on the last show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Handled
Trial
himself.
by fire. Surya Boachuk was knocked down too. Remember in the
That's
very
true.
first Hollywood Fight Night.
Yep. Yeah. Lucius Johnson did that. He came in big though. He was heavy. Yeah.
And then we also have George Navarro, who's a fan favorite, and
Oh yeah.
Philly
Yeah.
Ru-
He's a bantamweight, right?
he's a bantamweight. Yep. And
he's
he
a-
sells a lot of tickets, and also Philly Rubalcaba is
Philly Rubalcaba.
fighting on the show too. So it's gonna be a fun night. It's
gonna be a long show.
Everyone will be
Yeah,
looking
it's
forward to. Not as long as the last show. Last show we had
Well,
9
I hope
fights.
not.
This
I
one
was
we
a
have
bit
6 fights.
delirious, past the 4th hour. I was kind of like,
Commentating with Kevin.
Kevin helps. Kevin helps. But I was thinking, man, the Colonel Bob Sheridan and the ghost of Don Dumphy, I don't know if they could get through this. They could do it, but the ghost of Don Dumphy would have complained.
Naturally, Kevin Kelly, the Flushing Flash, Doug's co-host on the broadcast.
That's another, I would say, underrated former world champion turned boxing commentator. I love his insight. And he called it before Christian Robles got dropped. He said exactly what Robles was doing wrong, pulling straight out. And that's exactly what got Robles caught. So
some people are
fighters can go back and watch the replay of it, the fighters themselves and
Yeah.
their trainers, and they can pick up pointers from the Flushing
Right.
Flash.
Absolutely.
That's pretty good.
Some people are talking about the fights before.
How about J-Rock, everybody?
J-Rock had
Julian
a
Williams.
Huge win.
Upsetting Jarrett Hurd.
Jared Hurd. Yeah, that was a big.
I wish I could say I called it, but I didn't. But
Hurd was a 7-1 favorite.
Here's the thing: I
something like
wasn't sold on Hurd being like this unbeatable force. You know, I've been getting a lot of
He's a big,
emails to
strong
my
guy.
mailbag. I know, but I've been getting emails like this guy should be top 10 pound for pound, and I'm like, cool it with that. Cool it with that. He was losing to Tony Harrison
Redman
for
Boxing.
6 or 7 rounds.
Redman
you know?
Boxing had a big win.
Yeah,
Good
Austin
strategy.
Trout was doing really well, and then he overwhelmed those guys. He
Yeah.
didn't overwhelm Arislandi Lara, and I honestly felt that he needed that knockdown to win the
win
fight,
that fight,
to
right.
beat Arislandi Lara. So it's not like he was unbeatable. I mean, you know, but man, my hat's off to both Breadman and Julian Williams because
Great strategy.
great strategy
Stay
because they
focused.
met him on the inside
Yeah.
and they fought well on the inside,
Yeah.
and then they would back out and at the right times, and they were good on the outside from middle distance and on the inside, and occasionally Williams would push Hurd to the ropes
Mm-hmm.
and was teeing off on him. And I don't think the Fox commentators, except for maybe Lennox Lewis, was giving him enough credit for what he was doing.
But Joe Goosen sort of before the fight was talking about what he.
Well,
had
he
great
was,
chance.
but Goosen, he kept saying that like it's like it was anybody. I mean, I guess according to the official scorecards, like I think 2 judges had it 7 rounds to 5, but I saw a different fight. I had heard Dan Raphael had Hurd winning by a point.
Right.
I saw a totally different
No,
fight.
I
I
had,
thought Julian
I had
Williams
Williams winning.
dominated.
Yeah, I had
it
him
was a
winning.
hard fight and it was a good fight,
Yeah.
entertaining. But I thought the man with the edge in the majority of rounds was J-Rock.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of judging, you guys haven't praised me for how I picked the Canelo fight. I mean, I called it.
You know
Oh,
what
yeah,
it
we
was?
have to talk
It
about
was-
the Canelo fight,
too,
That's
from
another,
last year.
another fight. I thought
Coach
Canelo
picked it.
won clearly. I'm looking at my Twitter timeline. Oh, I got this fight even. I'm like, man, you guys are Canelo haters. I
You
mean,
want to apologize to me?
well, but I'm kind of right though. It was a difficult style for him.
It wasn't.
According to 2 official judges,
They were wrong.
7 rounds to 5.
They
So-
were totally wrong.
yeah, I know.
I mean,
You were right. No, you were right. It was.
It was a total
He was the
blowout.
clear.
I had it
I
pretty
don't want to
wide.
call it a blowout.
I had it
but
pretty wide
And
for
I
Canelo.
tell
I
you
had
why-
How did you have it?
8-4 for Canelo.
That's fair.
You know,
I had it 9-3.
You had it 9-3?
For Canelo, yeah. How did you have it?
I had an 8-4, giving every break
Yeah.
to Jacob.
That was giving him the benefit
9-3
of the doubt.
easy. I could even call it 10-2.
10-2? Yeah.
Could call it 10-2. It was a blowout.
Yeah.
Jacobs was not there to win.
Yeah.
He did land that one punch. It was incredible.
It was a great left hook that he landed.
Canelo
Yeah.
turns with
Yeah,
that
he,
stuff.
yeah, that was good.
Canelo's chin has gotten better.
It's a
with the
good
triple,
chin,
with
but
the Triple
he
G fights.
sees, like you said, like you
Yeah.
were saying, he knows what's coming.
Yeah, his defense was
Or no, it was
incredible.
Allen that was saying
But
that
the thing
earlier.
is,
He
that
knows what you're going
Jacobs
to do
was not. He was there to go the distance. That's all he wanted to do.
and be really big.
He had a fine. He had a fine
that
for the
again.
second day weight.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah.
Although he came in heavier the second day with the Triple G fight, but this
Oh,
one he
yeah,
came
much-
in.
yeah.
What was it? 4 pounds, 3.5 pounds heavier.
3.6 pounds
Yeah.
over the contracted limit, which was
It
170
sounds like they might
pounds.
move him up to 168.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Why
What they-
why
what they
battle
were
the
saying.
scale?
Yeah.
You know, why do crazy things to make an unnatural weight?
But I would
And
say,
he's in his 30s, man.
I say he can't beat anyone that's really good. I don't think he's.
But
that
how
good
many
anymore.
great guys are at super middleweight that are available for him to fight? I mean, I guess Callum Smith's pretty darn good. Smith will dwarf him.
Well, if
He's
Danny
not-
can
he's
beat
not-
everyone besides Triple G and Canelo, then that's not a bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad,
And at least on the
that's not
judges'
a bad
scorecards against both
situation
Triple G
for him.
and Canelo, he was really close.
I would favor him against Andrade, for example. Danny
Andrade,
Jacobs,
yeah. Yeah. I would favor him. I would slightly favor him over Demetrius Andrade.
That's
But that
actually a
would be
pretty
funky
competitive
fight.
fight. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That's a competitive
You
fight.
know what, I wanna
Him
see- I
and
wanna
Billy
see
Joe
him fight,
Saunders is a competitive fight.
Yeah, Saunders. I might favor Saunders in that one if his mind is right. And David Lemieux. That's
David
a good
Lemieux,
fight.
that's a
Lemieux
good fight
said,
also.
I'm not going to battle the scale anymore. He moved up.
He moved to 168,
from
yeah.
160 to 168. Yeah.
I think he can beat.
That was
Yeah.
that was Golden Boy's original scheduled opponent for Cinco de Mayo. with
Yeah,
David
so if
Lemieux
they want to
until
stick it to Golden
until
Boy,
he got
they just take that potential
dehydrated and
opponent.
couldn't
Yeah,
fight,
right, yeah.
unfortunately. So.
Yeah, that's
And then we had some people are asking about the Burchelt fight. He had a great win, another
good.
impressive win. Yeah,
you know
Burchelt,
Vargas had a
solid.
really good camp. Francisco Vargas was
He
ready for this
he tried.
fight.
He came to fight.
Physically, spiritually, mentally, all that, but
Yeah.
his face just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
It's sad, but I mean, I
Burchelt-
think maybe his
Burchelt
career's over.
definitely is one of the best guys in that.
How about
that
God?
division.
And Vargas has only lost to one guy, to Burchelt.
Right.
It's two. But if you ask 9 out of 10 boxing insiders or fight fans, hey, is his career over? They'll say yeah. But he's only lost to one guy, but he's had a lot of tough fights. But I like Berchelt as a potential opponent for Lomachenko. Because you look how big he is. He can carry 135. And he throws a lot of punches. His hand, natural power. And he can move and all. I'm not saying he would threaten to beat Lomachenko, but I think it would be a good fight. At least for the LA area or Texas or anywhere where there's a lot of Mexican fans.
And then
right?
Dogbo, he lost last night.
Yep, Dogbo found his kryptonite.
Yeah.
But they should have stopped that fight much earlier.
I didn't see the fight, so I can't comment on that. But everyone, my timeline was saying this was
He got
terrible.
destroyed. I mean, and then they finally stop it, and almost the fight's over.
Right, a minute left in
Took
the
a beating.
12th round.
And that's his dad in the corner kept saying, we're going to stop it. And Dogbo talked him into letting it go. But
With all those great fights this week and last week, what the biggest news was for last week, Doug?
Triple G's new trainer.
G's new trainer.
Jonathan
That's
Banks.
right, Jonathan Banks.
Now you can talk about it.
We
and by the way,
that.
Coach and I should have saw that coming. We didn't see it
We
coming.
kept that under wraps.
Yeah.
Even Mike Coppinger and his sources couldn't figure out
Mike,
who.
the source Coppinger.
you probably told Mike. but
Did
you
you
didn't
tell Mike?
us.
Did you give
Yeah,
Hey, but
even,
the
even Mike couldn't figure out
He
who,
couldn't
who
figure
it
it
was.
out.
No, but it makes so
his
much
sources
sense.
didn't know for some reason.
All right.
A lot of his sources
Here's
actually
the thing. You got to
don't
worry.
always know a
if
lot of
Coppinger
things.
puts Triple G in his pound for pound, then you guys better be worried.
Someone's
When
asking
that
about
happens.
new Triple G Jordan merchandise. We're working on the renewal deal with Jordan right now, so we should have some new Jordan merchandise out pretty soon.
Hey, quick question about that. When a fighter does like a big deal with
Yeah.
a company like Jordan Brand,
Global
does that-
brand like Jordan.
is it exclusive? Does that preclude them from doing a deal with another clothing brand?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does.
In that
It's got to
product
be
category. Yeah,
right. I got to
absolutely.
figure if it's like
Like
that
he
level.
has a deal with Tecate, for example,
Right.
so we can't do another beer
Right.
sponsor. He has a deal with
Right.
Chivas Regal
right.
for the spirits category.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if Under Armour came
Right.
to Triple G saying we want to do a deal with you, he couldn't do
Yeah.
it if he's
Yeah,
got a
he's
deal
exclusive to Jordan.
I guess that's fair. That makes
Yep.
sense.
And what did you? So Alam was up there. He saw. What did you think? How did they work together with Triple G and Jonathan Banks?
I know Jonathan Banks from Austria, from the Klitschko camp, and as a person, he's a great person, and also as trainer. But it's the first time he trains a super middleweight fighter, but they fit very good together. I see it, and JB tries or gives his all the best to teach Triple G and to give him good tips during the sparring, during the training, and he talks with him a lot. He analyzed the training, his style, maybe some mistakes, but he can do better.
And can you tell that when Jonathan Banks is talking to Gennady that Gennady respects him?
Absolutely.
As a teacher?
That was very impressive for me,
Yeah.
because I thought, do they fit together or not? But in Big Bear, I see it, and they fit absolutely together because he respects him. Triple G respects him absolutely, and he takes the time to listen to him, to analyze, and to practice the tips of JB during the sparring. When we
Right.
spar, JB talked to him to move, to take his rhythm,
Yeah.
and
he told Alam to duck.
Well, you know what? That's great to hear because there's a lot of fighters who have the success that Golovkin had.
Oh, Samir
has
just
as many
joined from
championship
Samir just
fights
joined from
as
Las Vegas.
Golovkin's had.
He must be
And
at
our
the
Golovkin's
breakfast
age,
buffet.
mid-30s, and they figure I already know it.
Yes,
I can
yes,
basically
yes, yes.
train myself. I can't
don't
really
need-
learn
yes.
anything, so it's good to hear that somebody at Triple G's level still wants to learn.
And it absolutely, and
Rare.
also he gave me tips, and he took the time to talk with me.
Triple G
of
is
training.
famous for helping out people in his
great
camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
human being, a great person, a gentleman.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you know,
I'm impressed.
Doug? Do you know that when Alam was in the Klitschko training camp with Vladimir Klitschko, he sparred with Alexander Usyk? Yeah, Usyk was in the camp
Yeah,
also,
with that big monster.
and Alam sparred with Usyk. Yeah.
I've been around. I've watched Usyk train. I've been around him. Just like stand next
Yeah.
to him.
He's
I mean, he's
very-
not like
very-
a heavyweight. So he's a cruiserweight.
Very impressive guy.
But he's a big athlete.
Very athletic. You
Everything
watch
about
him-
his body is
you watch him
athletic. I can't
dance,
imagine
You watch him move around
having
the ring.
to try to punch that guy. Yeah, can't imagine that. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, he suffered a bicep injury.
Yeah,
So his
bicep.
scheduled May 25 heavyweight debut
Yeah.
is going to be postponed.
Right.
But I think he's going to give the heavyweights a lot of
With
trouble.
his speed and his movement.
His movement,
Yeah.
his intelligence.
And
This is
ring
all
IQ.
just-
Probably the
yeah.
highest ring IQ right now.
Not a lot of heavyweights that are that good.
Anyone.
How old is Usyk?
Usyk, I believe, is
Probably
29.
early. Oh, I thought he was early 30s.
29, maybe
Oh,
30.
he's-
Yeah,
okay,
somewhere
maybe
in that
30.
range.
He's still in his prime,
Yeah, absolutely in his prime.
especially for a 200-pound
Just
fighter.
just unified all the cruiserweight titles.
Yeah.
So now he's moving to heavyweight, like you said.
Yeah.
So is
And
Murat.
you've been involved with some really special fighters, Tom.
Kevin
Klitschko brothers, or even going before that, Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly, what an amazing talent he was.
Shane
Obakar,
Mosley.
Shane Mosley.
Shane Mosley.
James Toney. For 3 fights.
Both Klitschko brothers. Obviously, Gennady Golovkin.
Yeah.
Alexander Usyk.
We did 2 fights on HBO.
Cecilia Brækhus.
Cecilia Brækhus.
Wow.
Best pound for pound female fighter.
Maybe the best female fighter ever.
Christina
She's in
Hammer.
the argument.
And Lucia Riker. Helped Lucia Riker.
did you?
And
Riker?
also 2 fights with Layla Ali.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Had
right.
Layla
I remember that.
on
Yeah.
Vladimir show at the Garden, and also in Berlin, Germany, she fought once. So yeah, I've been lucky to be involved with some top and Chocolatito, remember? Chocolatito.
How could I forget Chocolatito? Shame on me.
You had him.
That's it. I got to stop talking. Oh my God, Roman Gonzalez,
Who
man,
we modeled the Superfly series after.
future first ballot Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Oh my God.
Now Saray Boachuk.
Yeah.
We were up there. We stopped by to see Saray.
Carlos Cuadras as well. He's
Cuadras,
a
yeah.
sensational talent from Mexico.
And Rongasai. We put on Swarungasai
Until recently,
on those fights.
I said Carlos Cuadras was probably the best fighter from Guadalajara. Now now Canelo, definitely. He's the best fighter out of Mexico. But for a while, I thought both Cuadras and Juan Francisco Estrada were better, just pound for pound, than Canelo.
Canelo.
But you know what? The last 3 fights, Canelo is just.
Canelo's raised his stock. Unless you believe.
But I mean, just technically, I'm just talking pure boxing fundamentals, technique, ring generalship. Like he's on point.
Unless you believe Harold Lederman's score, then he would be 2-2 in his last 4 fights.
Yeah, but regardless of the official outcome of the fights, I'm just saying what he did in those fights.
There's no question. He
he
fought
wasn't
a lot better in
100%.
that
Like,
rematch.
he wasn't great in the first fight with Golovkin, but he did some good things in there. He did enough to be competitive.
At least he took the
shouldn't have
fight.
won. I mean, it shouldn't have been a draw.
He took the fight,
And he certainly shouldn't have won by the margin that Adelaide Hurd had.
Yeah.
The second fight, I thought he upped his game. The fight against Fielding, he was devastating. And against Danny Jacobs real hard to look good against.
Yeah, you're right.
And I thought he looked good. I mean, and Jacobs couldn't hit him.
Especially with that.
I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted more from Jacobs, definitely, because he was really the challenger. And I wanted more from Canelo, because if you can make a guy miss 12 punches in a row, hit him with one. Like, there was a point in the 4th round, he's like, this, and he's moving around, and literally,
Canelo definitely has great
Jacobs
upper
missed
body
with 10 to 12
movement
punches.
and great
I was
defense.
like,
Yeah,
hit him with something.
there's no question. Cynthia Conte logged in. She says,
What's up, Cynthia?
R.I.P. Papa Harold. I know she was close with Harold
Oh,
Lederman.
yeah.
Harold was around when we did the Kevin Kelly fights on HBO.
Oh,
so
of course.
I've known Harold for a number
And
of
Harold's
years.
one of these guys that's been around
Even
forever. and
Vladimir
he's-
Klitschko joined now too.
Vladdy.
Yeah, all the
Vladimir
way from.
Klitschko.
He's probably over in Europe.
So how many more years do we have to wait until he gets into the International Boxing Hall of Fame? His brother just got in last year.
Vitaly just was inducted last year. Yeah.
So I think we've got like 2 years, 3 years.
Well, it depends if he makes a comeback or not.
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of
But
speculation
when was
whether
the
he's going to fight
Joshua
again.
fight? Was that 2016 or 2017?
2017.
Okay, so we got to be patient. But he's in there definitely. And speaking of Vitaly, I saw Vitaly.
He was just in Las Vegas at the Hublot event.
WBC Hublot
Yeah, at the charity
fundraising
event.
dinner. Yeah,
That's right.
He looks like he's fighting shape.
He's both Vladimir and Vitaly stay in great shape.
Yeah.
Does he still live in L.A.?
No, he's in Ukraine. He's in Kiev. He's the
Yeah,
mayor.
he's the mayor.
mayor
No,
of
I
Kiev.
mean Vladimir.
Oh, Vladimir. No, Vladimir's he's an international man of mystery. He's still, even though he's not
Everywhere.
fighting, he's still traveling all over the place. But he spends more time in Ukraine now
Does he?
these days. Yeah. And
great.
Vitaly has his hands full being
Those are two,
being the mayor. So
Those brothers are two of the best ambassadors boxing's ever
Absolutely.
had.
Yeah.
Ever.
Very
And
smart, both
smartest.
PhDs.
Yeah.
Very high ring IQ. Vladimir, Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah. But I'm
Second
talking about
longest.
the way they conduct themselves
Yeah.
away from the ring.
Right.
They're great. They're great behind a podium. Obviously, they're high-minded. They want what's best for the sport, and their charity efforts. You know, they're
They've done
philanthropists.
amateur
Stuff with,
tournament like
UNICEF?
every year.
Is it UNICEF that they work with?
They do. They're involved with a charity.
They're involved with a lot of
It's
charities. I know.
slipping my mind now, but
Yeah.
I'll think of it.
Yeah, but they do a lot of good work, you know, outside of boxing.
There's a one in Germany called Herz for Kinder that is one with associated with RTL, one of the biggest TV stations over there, and they've been very supportive of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like Alam, very great ambassador for the sport of boxing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good.
Look at this guy.
He's also Bert Cooper died.
Smoking
passed
Bert
away.
Cooper,
Right.
yeah.
So-
Probably the greatest heavyweight gatekeeper
Ronald
of
Gavril
my
just
generation.
joined, one of
Who did?
the world-class fighter, Ron Gavril.
Oh, yeah.
With
Good.
KMT Promotions.
Hey, there's a sparring partner. There's this 168-pounder to spar with Triple G.
He's a very solid fighter.
So
Tough
did you ever
cat,
see
man.
Bert Cooper fight on TV?
Several times. Yeah.
Okay, so I have questions, but I want to ask some questions.
Okay.
Someone's asking Doug if you're going to see
I'll skip rope while you do that.
if you're going to
Coach.
see Thurman and Pacquiao fight in Vegas.
I might go to that, man. I kind of.
That's an interesting matchup. We were talking
is
about that this
interesting.
morning with
That's a great
JP.
fight.
I mean, Keith Thurman should be the runaway favorite, given the wear and tear on Pacquiao, given the fact that Pacquiao's 40 years old. But he's been so hot and cold and inconsistent and inactive, and he didn't look great in his last fight against Josecito Lopez. He's only a slight betting favorite, only a slight odds favorite. That's probably going to flip-flop by fight time.
I'm picking.
Your friend Boxer Great. just
Everyone's
joined.
picking Pacquiao. I mean, listen,
So Dave, you're going
I don't know.
with Manny?
I'm going to go with the young man.
I like Manny. I mean, because I don't like Thurman that much. He used to be really good, but I think he just
He might have,
inactive. He
that might have
looked
been someone.
crappy. I
He
think.
might have lost his
But
passion
here's the
for
thing,
boxing.
out of the welterweights, he's probably the most accomplished. He's got victories
Yeah.
over Sean Porter and Danny Garcia.
and Danny Garcia, you're right.
Like his resume, and he's got some other good wins. He's got that Diego Chavez guy when he was undefeated. He's got Jesus Soto
Oh, he was-
Corrales when he was still dangerous.
Yep.
But he's not
Big
hungry
puncher.
anymore.
Oh no, yeah. I
So
mean,
that's the
it doesn't
problem.
seem like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got spoiled, and it's fine.
But maybe he needs a name like Pacquiao, a legend like Pacquiao, to rekindle
To
that
motivate him,
fire.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
to
he's
motivate
probably
him.
going to get paid
I don't
good
think-
money for that
I think
fight.
it's too late now. So we'll see what Pacquiao has.
The eye of the tiger's gone.
Hey,
He's
man,
like
it is pretty
Manny
amazing.
looked
he's
good.
like Rocky. He's like Rocky before
Manny looked good
Mr.
in his
T.
last fight, back with Freddie.
Yeah.
Manny,
Yeah.
that is pretty amazing, though, Manny.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just hating, but like the opening rounds when Manny fought Adrian Broner in January, he looked old to me. But Broner didn't take advantage of
He
it.
is old.
Yeah.
Manny's got a few miles on his.
So let
He's
me
got
just
legs.
ask you
ridiculous.
about.
He's got Bernard Hopkins level miles on that one.
Let me ask you about Bert Cooper a little bit.
Smoking Bert Cooper.
Okay, so can you name some guys that he fought?
Oh, I'll name you champions that he fought.
Yeah.
He fought George Foreman.
Yeah.
He fought Riddick Bowe. He fought Evander Holyfield with the titles on the line.
Right.
Came within a punch of winning those titles.
Let
That was
Let Alan
sensational.
do some jump rope while you're talking.
He fought Ray Mercer before Mercer won the WBO title, and that was a war. That was like a NABF
Yeah, no,
title
but
fight.
that was the big fight on TV. That was.
Yeah,
the
I
war.
watched it on
Yeah,
TV. It
yeah.
was summer of 1990. It was crazy. I was in Philadelphia. So how's that? That's a lot of world champions, a lot of heavyweight champions.
Alan's making you look bad,
Yeah.
Dougie.
Oh, I know, effortless. Oh, he's doing this. Isn't that the way Christina Hammer did it
Hammer
too?
is,
I don't know.
I just love that.
See, I just like run in place when I do it.
Because, let me just
Did I hit them all?
Doug, someone asked on
Yeah,
the
you got
broadcast
one.
here, someone wrote in if Carl Foch is going to come out of retirement to fight Triple G. What do you think about that fight?
That would be awesome.
That'd be a great
Fox
fight.
is never going to do that. Now, once he got his nose
The
fixed,
nose.
once he got rid of the buzzard beak, I knew he's never coming back to boxing. He's got a nice, small, pretty nose now.
It's straight. That's one of the things that Eddie said is that he didn't want to.
No, you know
but
what
it would sell out Wembley Stadium. That would be a huge
course
fight
it
over
would.
there in the UK.
Of course it
So let
would.
me ask you
But
this.
I mean, you know, I think Triple G versus Callum Smith would sell well in England. I think Triple G against any decent British fighter will do well in England.
We sold out the O2
especially
against
a
Kell
champion
Brook.
like
Yeah.
Callum Smith or
100%.
you know a
Chris
big mouth
Eubank.
like Billy Joe Saunders.
Saunders, Eubank,
Yeah, Eubank
Callum
Jr.
Smith,
Yeah.
I'd love to see
Crotch,
what you bet.
all of them would be great fights.
The British always have a lot of super middleweights. They've always had a
So
lot
let me
of
ask you this about Burt Cooper. One of his last fights.
Mark Murray was one of the better middleweights
Tough-
that they've had.
tough guy.
One of his last fights was in 2011. Not
He
that
was
long
fighting
ago.
up to
2011. Wow.
Fought a
How
guy
old was he?
that was 7-0 out of Cuba.
Out of Cuba? A Cuban heavyweight? 7 or 9?
In
You
2011.
know who it is.
Was it Luis Ortiz?
Oh, there you go.
He was. I mean,
Wait,
Cooper was a
that's
shell.
pretty good.
That's
That's
pretty
pretty
good.
good, isn't it?
Cooper, but Cooper had to have been a shell by then.
Oh, for
Good
sure.
grief. 2011. Cooper was dangerous in the late 80s, early 90s,
Who did he
and
get?
was still a serviceable gatekeeper throughout the 90s.
Who did in a TV fight? Who did Cooper get knocked out by in 2 rounds by a fighter that was 18-0, trained by Bill Miller?
By Bill Miller
By Bill Miller.
out of Detroit.
I was about to say Riddick Bowe.
He fought Riddick Bowe also,
Yeah.
but he fought this guy. It was on TV.
Bernie says his
Was
last
it
fight was in
Derek
Hammond.
Jefferson?
It was.
Derek Jefferson.
Bam! Derek
Nice.
Jefferson!
Hey,
Bam!
you're good.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's right. Derek Jefferson was from Detroit.
I
Bill
know-
Miller.
Yeah.
I know
he's from
both
Detroit.
Dougie and Dean Fambleton. That's pretty good. You have
Yeah.
that resume of friends. I mean,
Yeah.
that's good. Hey, that was good.
There you go.
Pretty good. I remember Derek Jefferson.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Who
Hell
did
of
he
a-
fight?
So did he take Joe Frazier's nickname?
He did.
Yes.
Smoking Burt
Yeah,
Cooper.
because Cooper was trained and managed by Joe Frazier early
Okay.
in his
So
career.
Hurd-
yeah.
So he passed on the nickname.
You know why they split, right?
Why is that?
Cooper couldn't stay away from drugs.
Yeah, the cocaine. Yeah.
That's fair.
In fact, they had to get
But-
him out of bed
Yeah.
that day to get it to fight. Something happened.
Yeah, a lot of his fights
Yeah.
were like that. They
Yeah.
had the promoter or manager or agent had to go get him
Yeah.
out of a crack house.
So here's, he fought Derek Jefferson. That was in '99. In '94, he lost. He got DQ'd in the 7th round. The guy was 16-1. Guy from Long Beach.
Was that
Oh,
Jeremy Williams?
Yeah, Jeremy Williams was a big puncher.
Hey, I forgot. I left out one of the heavyweight champions he fought, and it was a great fight. It was a shootout. Michael Moorer.
Michael Moore, he fought
They fought
also.
for the WBO title,
Yeah.
and it was a shootout, a classic shootout.
What year
Michael
was
Moorer
that?
was
What
down twice, like it was looked like he was done.
What year was it?
What year was that? Jeez.
You can get it. And what was Michael Moore's record?
Michael Moorer was undefeated at the time.
He was, yeah.
I don't know. His record was something like 23-0, something like that.
28-0,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, 28-0. Okay, he had more fights than I thought.
And what year was it?
I'm gonna say it was 93,
Close.
92.
You know, when Kevin Kelly first got it on HBO, his first HBO debut was on the undercard of Michael Moore.
Right.
Reno, Nevada.
And he showed up, Michael Moore, because Moore was super boring in that main event.
That's how he kept getting Kevin on HBO, because he was the co-feature as a featherweight. He
Yeah.
was the first featherweight since Salvador Sanchez on HBO.
Yeah.
He fought on the undercards of Michael Moore
And Lennox Lewis.
and he was always more exciting, and that's why they kept putting him back on HBO. That's how Kevin kept getting on
Featherweights
HBO.
deliver.
Hey, Burt Cooper really he fought everyone.
Fought everybody. That's a game, and he was dangerous. I mean, even when he was supposed to be past it, he would shock a prospect. You know, like as a cruiserweight, he beat Henry Tillman, who was an Olympic gold medalist, 1984 games. Willie DeWitt out of Canada, he was a good amateur and a hot heavyweight prospect, and and Cooper dismantled him. Rocky Papelli, we were talking about him. You know, I don't know if he was like a real heavyweight prospect or fringe contender, but I think he had a good record and all that. So that's a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper doesn't just go in there and give you tough rounds. A gatekeeper can beat you on a good night.
Yep.
If the prospect or contender or even world champion has an off night, because he came close to beating Evander Holyfield as a late sub. I mean, that's insane. Prime heavyweight Holyfield. I think that fight was like in, maybe that was 92. Wait, when would that? No, it wouldn't have been 92. Wait. Was that Holyfield's first defense after Holyfield? Wait. I'm getting confused. I saw that fight when I was in college. I was in college from 88 to 92. So yeah, it was after Holyfield fought Burt Cooper after he won the titles from Buster Douglas.
There you go.
I think Cooper may have been his first defense.
Couple of news items this week. We're going to have Alan Becic at the Churchill Boxing Club on Wednesday. We're going to have an open media training.
Oh, good.
Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Excellent.
Churchill Boxing. Anyone that wants to come down and see Alan live, see Benjamin Simon. We're going to have both guys down there. We're going to have the other fighters on the show as well. So it'll be a nice event. Tomorrow I'll be on the Boxing Rundown with Ruckus, their podcast.
The Boxing Rundown.
Boxing Rundown, yeah. So I'll be on that. Cynthia was just on there, and
Boxing Rundown.
yeah,
Who are the hosts?
we'll tweet out about that. Sal, Boxing Guru, used to be on it,
used to be at Legends
yeah,
Gym. So where do they do it now?
So they still do it at
They still
Legends,
do it,
but
okay.
they're going to come up to Gold's Gym
All right.
tomorrow, and I'll be
Sal.
Yeah,
Mr.
but-
Boxing
well,
Guru.
he was on there, Boxing Guru, but Ruckus is on there, and a few other guys are out there. So we'll tweet out about that.
Doug was just on Dave Smith's program yesterday.
I was on there last night.
Cynthia's-
SB Radio, SB National Radio.
Cynthia's clarifying it's at Legends, but tomorrow they're going to come up to Gold's Gym to do the
Nice.
podcast.
Oh wow! Look at
So
that.
it'll be
You
good.
guys are VIPs. They come to you. You don't go to them to do the podcast.
We
They
give them
come to
give them a
you.
lot of scoops up there.
That's
And
good.
Xavier, can't forget about him. Yeah, so they're good boxing guys.
Yeah. What are your favorite podcasts to go on?
To go on.
There's a lot of boxing. Like, have you been on the
lot.
Chris Mannix show? I was just listening to
Yeah,
that this morning.
I've been
He
on
had,
Chris's show.
Keith
You know
Idec on. It was
who
fun.
wanted me on, and we haven't scheduled yet, but I want to go on, is one of your favorites, Kurt Emhoff.
Oh
from,
yeah, Kurt. Yeah.
back east. I like
Yeah,
his. I like
Kurt's
his
are really
show.
good. He really gets.
Yeah.
You really get to know the subject. You really get to know the person being interviewed.
But the best podcast by far. Three
knockdown rules, my favorite.
It's not
I've been
even
on the
close
3
second.
knockdown rule a number of times.
So
I think
good.
like 4 times now.
Wow.
Yeah, so repeat, yes.
I've been on there once.
One time. Good.
One time. I'm
Mr.
like Keith
Kim?
Thurman. One time.
Mr. Kim and Mr. Lopez, K9 Kim.
You have the same Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why That's why I'm backing Keith. I'm backing Keith against everybody. I'm backing Keith against Pacquiao. I'm backing Keith against Errol Spence. I'm backing Keith against Clarissa Shields. I'm backing Keith against Canelo Alvarez.
They were
I'm
supposed to
backing
spar.
Keith.
Let me ask you this: who did you pick in the Shane Mosley Mayweather fight?
I picked Shane mostly.
Big Shane, because he was the bigger guy.
But I
or
picked
what?
Shane early. As soon as the fight was made, like I picked Shane. But it was. Here's
It's
the thing
all
about
hard.
that.
That's all hard.
It was a hard pick, but Shane, in January of 2009, Shane upset Antonio Margarito.
Yep.
Won a belt. Nobody wanted to fight him. Couldn't get a fight.
Yep.
And Shane just trained. He trained and trained and trained with no fight. And he was good. He had just split with Jen. And he was feeling like, hallelujah, I'm free. And he had that great fight. And like a true gym rat, he goes and celebrates by training,
Sparring.
staying in the gym and sparring. And they couldn't get a fight. Golden Boy couldn't. Golden Boy with, despite having Richard Schaefer at the helm and their cozy relationship with HBO, they couldn't get him a fight. And finally, they threw him a bone. They made a fight with Shane and Joshua Clottey. Supposed to be here in LA in December of 2009. And then HBO pulled the plug on that and said, no, sorry, we don't have the budget for it. And so he was getting ready for that,
That's
and then
a
he
good
stops, and then they say, okay, at the start of 2010, we'll put you in there with somebody. We'll do an HBO, championship boxing, and they had him fighting Andre Berto. They even had a press conference and everything for this. So he sets his mind. So he's training for Andre Berto, and then Andre Berto pulls out because the hurricane devastated Haiti, and he wasn't there mentally, and that whole thing. So that fight got pulled out. Yeah. And then they were talking about fighting, making a Mosley fight. And I knew, because I had kept tabs on it, and I'd seen him in the gyms in L.A., and Sam Garcia would see him in Big Bear. He's looking good, he's looking good, he's looking good. So the talk of the fight with Mayweather's being, it's being talked about. And I said it, I put it out there publicly. I said, Shane beats Mayweather. And the fight was made. And then you hear other things, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. You just hear stuff that's not good. But, once you make a pick, I want to stick with it. And also, I'm a Shane guy. I'm a Mosley guy.
Floyd was pretty untouchable at that point.
Yeah. But, I mean, shoot, there was a moment where he could have had him out of there, though. He did. He rocked him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the Shane of even like 2006, 2007 could probably close the deal on that. Shane of 2010 couldn't. But what I'm saying is, training for a year and a half and having fights, like having a fight scheduled against a certain guy, and then having to pull out, and then doing that, like, that'll mess you up. And I'll say the same thing. I'm not making excuses for Shane. I say this for any fighter. I think Vladimir Klitschko, had he not had all that time off and hadn't been training for Tyson Fury and had the fight
fell out twice,
and then training again, and then having that fight pulled out from under him.
2 years before.
I think had he not had that, he could have beat Anthony Joshua.
I agree.
I really do. I think there was a moment Anthony Joshua was down. I think a properly trained Vladimir Klitschko can close the show on Joshua. You can't do that though as an older fighter. When you have false starts,
a lot of
you
people
lose
forget
something.
he was out of the ring for 2 years.
Yeah.
And
no, people don't look at that. And the same thing. Folks, go back and look. The same thing with Shane Mosley and Mayweather.
Yeah.
He had a whole year train. You can't just train; it makes you stale. You can, Alem can tell you.
Vitaly was out for 4 years. Remember when he fought Sam Peter? Came back.
He's a freak.
Took his title.
He's a freak.
Took his title back.
Yeah, but he was off and he was healing. And at some point, he was able to look. Okay, now this guy is the champion. This tough guy from Africa, Sam Peter. He could prepare for this one guy. Announce to WBC, "Hey, I'm champion emeritus. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Let's make this fight. I'm #1 contender," and they do it. But it's different when you're training for one guy and then that fight falls out, and then you're training again and it falls out.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a veteran fighter. It's a lot.
Sam Peter was a different proposition than Anthony Joshua.
Yes.
In fairness to Vladimir.
Or Floyd Mayweather.
I have a question
or Floyd.
about
Yeah.
What's his nickname?
The Nigerian Nightmare.
Nigerian Nightmare. We're very good.
Can't believe I got one faster than Doug.
Were you involved with James Toney when that fight happened?
I have a piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
Who was the middleweight champion? Who was a future middleweight champion? Who was in the corner when Sam Peter fought over in Germany against Vladimir Klitschko?
Future middleweight champion.
Yeah.
Who was in whose corner?
In Sam Peter's corner.
Sam Peter's corner?
Yeah, working the corner. Not as a chief second, but helping.
What year was this?
That was the rematch. Sam Peter. Remember they fought twice when and it was over in Germany.
Vladimir fought Sam Peter twice.
In Germany, yeah.
Or did Vitaly? Wait,
no,
so Sam
Vitaly
Peter
fought him in Berlin, and Vladimir fought him in Frankfurt, Germany. Who was Sam Peter's trainer at the time?
Sam Peter's trainer,
Yeah.
Abel Sanchez.
Yeah.
So was it Gennady Golovkin?
Triple G was in this corner. In Germany, when that's when he was living in Stuttgart, Germany.
I forgot that. Sanchez trained Peter for a spell. He also trained Andy Ruiz for a little bit. Trained the White Buffalo.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? Francois Botha.
Francois Botha. That's right.
So here, I've heard people say, "Hey, it's got to be kind of awkward. Triple G's training in Big Bear. What if he sees Abel Sanchez? Like, what's up? Like,
Triple G likes it up there.
He likes it up there. But
it reminds him
Big Bear.
of Kazakhstan.
When Abel Sanchez was training Francois Botha, to fight Shannon Briggs. Shannon Briggs was also training in Big
Big
Bear.
Bear?
Yeah,
And they were
Manny
gonna
Stewart
fight
had
each other.
had a Kronk
He had
Gym
Kronk West.
Yeah,
That's right. He had
Kronk
Kronk
West in Big Bear.
Lennox Lewis trained up there a couple times
Yeah,
too.
he did.
Yeah,
He did. So
in
Shannon
Big
Briggs
Bear.
was there with the great Manny Stewart, the late great Manny Stewart, and Francois Botha was with Abel Sanchez, and they fought in Atlantic City. This is the summer of '99. It's 1999.
Cynthia says she has Chavez Jr.
And it was a
in hers.
draw, but really Francois Botha probably should have won that fight.
So Samir wrote in. He says Alim in Kazakh means world.
World,
Yeah.
wow. Do you have a nickname? Do you have a fighter's nickname?
Alim's heritage
come up with
is
something.
from Bosnia. He lives in Germany, but he's Bosnian heritage.
Is that the same for Felix Sturm? Sturm?
Yeah,
Is he also
Sturm is
Bosnian?
from Bosnia, and so is Zlatan. We were at the LA Galaxy game on yesterday.
Really?
Yep.
You had a big day yesterday.
Yeah, gosh, you guys are,
We saw
really?
Zlatan
You went to a soccer game and a
at the
concert?
Galaxy game, then we saw Johnny Depp at the Greek Theater.
I'd be done for the weekend.
And then
Just
you went
going to the
clubbing
soccer
afterwards,
game.
right? You went to the clubs in Hollywood?
No, we went to, we were tired. Bjorn is still sleeping over there after the
Tom,
Johnny
you don't
Depp
go
concert.
clubbing. You don't go to clubs, or do you? Do you go to nightclubs?
Not anymore.
Not
Only
anymore?
the Avalon. Only the Avalon.
Oh, the Avalon.
Hollywood.
That's a good club. That's a historic
You go,
club.
Dougie?
I hate clubs. No. Even as a kid, even as a young man, like young 20s, I didn't even like strip clubs.
You weren't dancing on the tables back in.
No, I would occasionally when I would go. Yeah, if I had too much to drink, I would be a fool and all like. But I mean, not since college. Not since being in college at Columbia. I would go to some of the clubs in Manhattan just because
Cynthia
everyone does
Cynthia
that.
Conte says that
I didn't like it though.
she spoke to Chavez Jr. and says looks like they might do the rematch with him and Sergio Martinez.
Sergio's doesn't have any knees, right? I don't know.
Oh, and then also we saw.
I saw Junior at that Hublot WBC
Yeah,
charity
he was there.
dinner.
Yep, he was there, and Senior was
He's a
there.
great guy.
We saw. Oh, speaking of HBO, you have the HBO hat on. That's
Yeah.
what I was going to mention. I forgot to say it earlier. We went to the HBO documentary on Ali.
Oh, how was that?
It was excellent.
Where was that screened?
It
Where
was screened here at the Regent Theater downtown LA. One of your favorite places, Dave. LA Live. Yeah, it was screened down there. And What's My Name is the name of the documentary.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
a
great
tremendous.
title.
Yeah, it is a great
Tremendous.
title.
Yeah.
Yeah, how long is it?
It was. We saw the first part, and there's actually two parts to that
Oh.
series.
So how long was part one?
So it's about an hour and a half, something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's movie
It's
length.
it's a documentary. Shout out to Peter Nelson, who's who was the brains behind that, and then Maverick Carter, who's LeBron's guy. He was involved with that, and the director was Fuqua. He was involved with all those Creed films and those things. Yeah. So, yep.
I think we better.
Are we gonna wrap up?
Yeah.
You gonna wrap up? All right.
Can we
All
see
right,
Alan
Coach.
jump rope for one more second?
So don't
Can you
miss
do that?
don't miss Alum next week,
Can you do that side?
May 19th at the Hollywood Fight Nights.
The one where you go across.
That's like magic to us, man. We're like,
Yeah.
what? How do you do
Let's see
that?
it.
Isn't that exactly how Hammer did it?
Very
No.
similar.
She did it like that. I don't know if I can do that.
You gotta
See,
practice
if you
that.
do
huh?
that, you
That's
can
the
learn how
Euro.
to dance.
That's
you
the
know.
Euro style.
Now, if you practice, you can be almost as good as Tom.
And don't forget, Ali Akhmedov is going to fight on Triple G's show. He's training up there also with
Did you
Jonathan
guys get
Banks.
an opponent for him? I heard that you were at least close.
Abraham Hahn.
Oh.
That's
Hahn.
Yeah, that's a good fight for
Wow.
him, but we're
It's a really good
still
fight.
it's
Oh, it's not done.
not done.
Oh, I had
we're
heard
working-
that.
we're
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on
But
that,
Abraham
We
Hahn
definitely
is-
want to do a step-up fight for Ali Akhmedov, and
Yeah.
Ali's training
Oh.
with. There you go. Ali's training with Jonathan Banks also up there, so he's up there.
Hey, is
Alan's
that
fought with
amazing?
both of them.
We never thought about Jonathan Banks.
He kept that
Never,
one. He kept
ever,
that one a
ever.
secret.
I
Coach.
mean,
There was a lot of speculation on
Lot
on
of
the
I
training.
speculation.
never saw his name
So much
one
speculation.
place, didn't hear it.
Too much speculation.
Sweet Science asking about Gassiev. No, Gassiev's not on the Triple G show. He's probably going to fight sometime in July.
Hey, is
from
is
what
he
they
really
said.
going to heavyweight? He's
He is
done
heavyweight.
with 200.
No, he's done. He's heavyweight. Yeah, and he's big, big
He's a
guy.
big dude, yeah.
I did
Well,
an
mean,
interview.
That's where the money's at.
I did a small thing with Boachuk and Abel and Garcia, so you can see how big he is. He's solid.
Really?
And solid.
So what's he gonna
solid
weigh?
muscle.
Like 225?
I think Abel said his ideal weight would be 235, but probably his first fight would be 225. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a solid guy.
So they got to kind
really
of
thick
bulk
guy.
him up to 235.
Yeah.
So how do you bulk someone up besides eating?
Well, I don't know. He's got a big
Squats.
frame, and Murad is young too. Don't
Yeah.
forget, he's a young guy.
He is.
and-
That's
and
true.
He would come down to 200.
He was early 20s, yeah, when he won his first title.
That's right.
Yeah, forget about that. Yeah. Time's on his side.
Yep.
It's like 25 is young for a heavyweight.
We want to tell you this. JP made a huge amount of money this
Oh,
week.
JP had a
Yeah.
big winning streak in both
Huge.
UFC,
Yeah.
Bellator, boxing. He was undefeated.
How do you
And then he gets these.
How do you keep track of all this? Combat sports.
Plus all those European fights, and
I
then
know.
UFC was down in Brazil, so it was.
And he picks these underdogs. He's really good at that.
This is
Yeah.
the year of the underdog.
Wow, it's crazy.
Although he stayed away,
Oh, yeah.
he stayed away from the Jared Hurd fight, so he, you can easily get if you get one of those big favorites and you lose on that, it could wipe out your whole
Yeah.
weekend.
There was a dude in Britain, an undefeated featherweight, who lost. He got stopped by some
There were a couple
unheralded
upsets, yeah.
Mexican journeyman, yeah. Tinoco, some guy.
Well,
I
you know,
think we're
these
gonna-
guys that come up from Mexico are really tough.
You got to watch your ass, man.
The guys
No
that,
joke.
They're asking about
I've seen it 100 times.
Chocolatito and Cecilia Breco. So we're Chocolatito's look like he's back training. Hopefully he'll be back soon this summer, and Cecilia maybe in the late summer fall.
Hey, everybody wants to fight Cecilia.
Yeah.
Everybody. The undisputed,
she's the top dog.
Clarissa Shields says she'll come down to
She's
154.
who's the pound
Katie
for pound?
Taylor, I think, talks about going up to fight her, you know.
Doug, who's the pound for pound female champion?
It's still
Ring
Cecilia
magazine.
Breakus in my mind.
Someone reminded us Inouye's fighting this week.
Oh my God, the monster
that's
is
a great,
fighting Emmanuel Rodriguez.
Yeah, over in Glasgow.
Unbeaten IBF bantamweight
That's right. We
title.
forgot about the World
And the
Boxing.
Ring Magazine bantamweight championship is on the line for that fight.
That's it.
And the Baranchik Taylor fight's a hell of a fight.
That's a great fight too.
Baranchik's a monster. He's a beast. There's the monster is the Japanese fighter, and the beast is Baranchik.
We're gonna see Dave's soccer skills right now.
Too fast, yeah.
Yeah. Someone's asking Katie Taylor of his breakouts. That's a great fight.
Yeah, but Taylor's got a
It's a
fight.
makeable
She's
fight.
fighting on the Joshua Ruiz undercard.
Right.
Pursoon,
Yeah.
who's a pound for pound level female
That's
fighter.
a tough fight.
And
I think that's
a-
her toughest fight.
Yeah,
That's her
Pursoon's no
because
joke.
She can fight.
She can really.
Pursoon-
You've seen her, right?
Delphine Pursoon from
Delphine
Belgium.
Pursoon, that's
Yeah,
right, and
she can
that's
fight.
for all the titles at lightweight, women's undisputed lightweight championship,
Yeah,
and the
'cause Pursoon
inaugural
has the-
Ring Magazine women's lightweight championship is on the line.
That's a good fight. Pursoon is WBC champion, and she can fight.
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll sign off
Hey,
with
thanks
that.
a lot for coming along. Thanks.
Thanks for making the show look good.
Good luck.
Not as good as Christina Hammer made it look. But,
Yeah, but it was effortless, man.
But,
like he's floating.
Very
Yeah.
good.
That's good.
We'll see him
May 19, Avalon, Hollywood Fight Nights.
Intercontinental title.
WBO Intercontinental title.
Yep.
Not bad. Not too shabby.
Sweet Science asked about Ryan Martin. Ryan Martin had a 6-month suspension with WBC, so that's up now, and so we're looking at something with him probably.
I
look
follow
at,
Ryan
summertime.
on social media. He's training.
Yeah, he's in
He's
training.
getting into shape. Yeah, or he hasn't
Cynthia
gotten out
Conte
of shape.
says, "See you next week at Fight Night."
Who said that?
Cynthia Conte.
What's up, Cynthia?
Person that
yeah,
a lot of people come just to see Cynthia Conte,
I get it. I understand that.
and Cynthia looks like Johnny Depp's going to come to see Alam
Uh-oh.
next week. So you have to do your interview with him in the
Do your
the
homework,
crowd.
research.
Yeah,
Yep. You got to research his music.
and his music.
Don't talk about the movies. You got to research the music.
He's a solid guitar
Don't ask
player.
him about 21 Jump Street.
I tell you,
man.
he was
That's the
impressive on the
past.
guitar.
Yeah, I heard. I've heard
very
that.
impressive.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Impressive. All right, we're going to sign off with that. Alam, say
Bye.
goodbye to your fans.
Bye.
We'll see you
Nice day.
Cynthia
See you
night.
May 19th.
See you Hollywood Fight Nights.
Yes.
Cynthia says she's all over that interview, so she's gonna do her homework on Johnny Depp.
All right, everybody. Be good. Drive safely.
Oh yeah, Coach.
We want to see you at the Avalon.
Be happy.
Drive like you just won the lottery, right?
Exactly. Be happy every minute.
Let the people in front of you.
Always. Get a
You'll-
good
you'll
night's
make their day.
sleep. Love everybody. And Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
everybody.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone
All the
around the world.
mommies.
Yep. Okay, we'll see you next week at the fights.